On Friday, David Stokes, policy analyst with the Show Me Institute, was here filling in on the board meeting. And your parting shot, you talked about Tesla. We didn't have enough time to dive into it, so we can give you a couple more minutes now. What is going on down in Jefferson City, and what are they trying to do?
Somebody in Jefferson City, and the exact name has not been put out there as to which legislature added it to the bill, but somebody's added a change to Missouri state law making it illegal for companies such as Tesla to sell cars direct to the consumer, basically requiring that all automakers use the franchise system. That is very common and that we're all familiar with. You know, all the auto dealerships around our area that we hear the names frequently our entire lives.
Right.
But there's no reason that has to be the way. There was no until this past few days trying to pass it. There was no law saying that Tesla or somebody else couldn't sell direct to a consumer if they wanted to, and now somebody in Jefferson City is trying to make that illegal. And this is why people say, Dave, why do you dislike government so much? Well, because there's so much stuff just like this. There's so much abuse of government to step in and dictate, in this case, to a company like Tesla, how they sell their product that the government has no business being involved in.
What I find offensive or sort of a red flag goes up is when any legislative body tries to pass a law for one specific person, one specific reason, one specific company, right? When you start writing a law for one guy or one thing or one issue, you tend to like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? So break this down for me. If I'm General Motors, if I want to, General Motors can open up a store here in St. Louis and sell General Motors cars, right? They just choose to go to Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and sell it that way.
Yeah, I believe so. And the fact that they've started via the franchise system might come into play at some point. But yes, in simple terms, right now Missouri has no law against car dealers selling direct to the public.
Right. So Tesla, which is selling these motorized cars, if they wanted to, which they're not trying to do, but if they wanted to, they could just open up a Tesla store and sell directly to the consumer.
Well, that's what they're doing in Missouri. I mean, they do sell here in Missouri.
Okay.
I mean, they do sell cars to people, and I understand some of those people are going to Jefferson City today to protest, and
right.
I wish them the best. No, Tesla does say you can go to the Tesla company and buy direct from them with no middleman.
Right.
And the government has no business mandating the middleman, as we've said in other areas on this show. And there's nothing wrong with the franchise system. And for all the other auto dealers that choose to sell their cars that way, they then are going to. Why auto dealers, and the suspicion is that the Auto Dealers Association is behind this, which seems perfectly reasonable.
Right.
To suspect them, not that their move is reasonable.
Right.
To just ban Tesla from directly selling to you or I or Kelly or anybody is insane. What in the Missouri Constitution, the United States Constitution, says that it's the role of government to tell a car dealer they can't sell directly to an individual?
Why do we not know the legislator who put this attachment to this bill?
Well, because I think, unlike bills when they're just introduced normally, when things are put on in committee, it's hard to follow. There's not always a name on it. I understand it came out. It was attached to a House bill when it went through Senate review, and it came out of the Senate Transportation Committee. So you would suspect that a member of the Senate Transportation Committee
right.
might have done it. But until it's reported, until somebody knows, I'm not no.
There are other states that have done this, right? That have banned Tesla from selling direct.
I think New Jersey did it a couple months ago, and it caused a great deal of controversy.
Right.
I mean, it is a terrible abuse of government power, and we see so much of it. We're seeing something very similar with Lyft and Uber, where under the guise of safety, insurance, background checks, Lyft and Uber, the taxi cab apps companies that we've discussed a lot, they're not objecting to those things. They're objecting to the fact that the taxi cab commission, which is dominated by their future competitors, has control of who can get a license to operate and who can't.
Right.
So they're not objecting to the inspections of the insurance. They're objecting to the fact that the fix is in, and now Tesla, who simply wants to do nothing more than commit the unpardonable sin of sell cars to people, now is being prevented from doing that unless they go and hire a middleman, which is unconscionable.
How different would this be someone wanting to sell a car to someone else, a private citizen, as opposed to a company?
Well, it shouldn't be, right? You can sell a used car you can sell it to your neighbor or your kid or just a random, believe it or not, a random person via the newspaper one ads or more appropriately Craigslist. So why Tesla shouldn't be allowed to do something that is in no way different from that is beyond me. And there are just, you say, what does the Show Me Institute about? What is David Stokes and his job there? I mean, so much of what we do is fighting this type of shenanigan. You know, I'm calling shenanigans on shit on the shenanigans.
He
on
used
this.
the S word.
I mean, there's just so much out. Look at our state's ethanol mandate, our state's licensing rules for occupations that have no business being licensed, all to limit competition and restrict the free market. And then when you establish all these rules and inevitably the free market doesn't then work as well as it could, then you say, oh, the free market's broken. Now we have to regulate it even more in the name of the public. When you're the one who fixed it wrong in the first place.
I want to say Texas also. Did Texas ban Tesla from selling direct to?
I do not know. It wouldn't surprise me. This isn't something that breaks down on a red versus blue. I mean,
right.
This is the type of thing, the states that are going to pass this law, and they may all pass it, are any ones where this auto dealer association has the political power to muscle it through. There's nothing good. There's no argument in favor of this. It's strictly a muscle thing.
I want to say that Texas was trying to get Tesla to build one of their battery plants in Texas at the same time banning them from selling their cars directly to people in Texas. So I don't know if either or both went through, but I know that they were trying to at least try something similar to here in Missouri. You know, people in Jefferson City would be up in arms if somebody put a legislative bill in there that said that you needed a franchise to sell a gun, right? They would be apoplectic.
They would be apoplectic, and they should be, but this is no different or no worse,
right?
This is equally offensive.
It's really interesting. Any chance of this getting through?
Well, it's made it through the Senate as part of an attachment. I think it was pretty clearly one of those bills that was put on and nobody noticed,
right?
Because they pass so many things, and unfortunately, they don't encourage technology as much as they should on the Senate floor.
Right.
So things can go in much easier than they should be able to. I'm sure there's plenty of senators who would have objected to this had they seen it.
Who caught this? Did you catch this, or did somebody else catch this? Or?
I think Tesla caught it.
Oh, okay.
I think the company caught it themselves. I think they've got...
Not to mention, they're busy trying to come up with the new battery of the 21st century. They have to spend money on lobbyists pursing through bills to make sure they don't stop them from trying to sell their product.
Exactly. It's such a misuse of resources. It's business now, and some of them choose to do it willingly. Many of them, I think, choose to do it because they have to fight back. They spend so much money now lobbying for government instead of trying to build better products or deliver better services. It's a total misuse of resources. And I do want to say that the Tesla's not necessarily, Caesar's wife here. I mean, they get a great deal of federal subsidies for their product. So they're in the government game as well, but we're a state think tank, and I focus on state issues. So this abuse, at least their subsidies at the federal level are, as I understand it, are going through a budgetary process and are open and out there.
Right.
The idea that you would sneak through a ban on allowing them to operate in Missouri unless they play by the rules you say, well, that's offensive.
Yeah, no, same thing. You brought up Uber and Lyft, right? There's a judge that said, sorry, you can't perform your business here until we think about it. And what is their business? They want to take somebody, from the airport to their house.
Right. As we talked a couple weeks ago, how is that different? It's no different from your buddy taking you to the airport and then you saying, here's a couple bucks for gas.
Right.
Thanks.
Right.
But they're making that illegal. And what I will say again that I appreciate about these naked power grabs, these naked attempts to limit competition of Uber, Lyft, Tesla, Airbnb,
right,
is they're exposing to the public now, to a new generation of people who like their apps and like their phones, the abuses of government. So it's putting it out there. So thank you, regulatory state, for showing your colors to the public again. And it's such a harmful way to, anytime you restrict choice and limit competition, you're hurting consumers. And And it's always under the guise of safety. And I'm sure this Tesla thing is somewhere under the guise of safety, because if you don't have a middleman, then people are going to die somehow. But they'll figure it out. But it's just nothing more, in almost all these instances, an abuse of government power to limit the choice of consumers. And that's what we're at Show Me Institute are dedicated to fighting back on.
David Stokes, how can people find you? Where can they read you?
You can read a lot on these types of licensing abuses at showmeinstitute.org, and follow our blog at showmedaily.org, and follow me on Twitter at David C. Stokes.
Have a good week.
Thank you, McGraw. Thank you, Kelly.
Hopefully I don't see you on Friday. But
Well,
if I do, I'll be happy to see you on Friday.
I'm game if you're game.
848, Big 550.